fullback knocking those players out of the way. And that, I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there, and I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you could you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to push it, and I run it back coach didn't take the biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. It's going to be Martin in D.C. on this Tuesday morning. X is out, so we're going to invite you to get in on the conversation, make some room for you on the Empowerment Strategies and Solutions Hotline, 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. That's the Empowerment Strategies and Solutions Hotline. Also, we want to invite you, if you're listening on the live stream, to go ahead and get your thoughts and comments in on the chat. As we move throughout the morning, we'll work that into the conversation. And as I said, we'll bring DC in just a moment. But I wanted to make sure that you knew that it was the Sound of Alabama Sports, your show, your team, which means that we want to hear from you. What's on your mind? What's breaking in your world? We have lots of topics that we can talk about. We won't dig too deep into it, but Kalen DeBoer I'm going to go back and listen to that interview and break that out and see what he had to say. But if DC wants to bring that topic up a little bit, we can talk about some of the things he may have discussed. One of them being, of course, the relationship he has with Ryan Grubb and how that could translate into Alabama football being even better in 2026. Also, one of Alabama's future opponents, quarterback, talking smack. We'll break that down, see what he had to say. Wise on his part or stupid on his part. We'll see what Florida State projected starting quarterback, had to say. With just 67 days away, did he give Alabama bulletin board material? And I guess a question, DC, I want you to answer this question. Does bulletin board material, don't answer it right now, but just think on it a little bit, and you can jump in on the conversation as well. Does bulletin board material have the same impact it used to have when we were growing up and only a few years ago? Maybe I can ask Chase that question as well, because when we were growing up, there was a 24/7 news cycle, and there wasn't all of this talk and smack talk and all of that got to the media. So when something was said or something was printed, it was a big deal. Now it's just kind of in the media, in the news, and then gone. So we'll get your thoughts there. We'll talk about that. Also, on the recruiting trail, we have some football and basketball news. Nate Oates getting a big recruit, literally a big recruit. We'll see if talk about that a little bit. And then, of course, if you tune in on Thursdays, we always go deeper into the recruiting details with Xavier, but we'll skim over it with me as a non-expert, and DC probably knows a little bit more than I do. So, but we will definitely talk about Nate Oates, filling one more spot, more news on the basketball court as well. And then I looked at PFF after being on with Ryan Fowler yesterday, and he talked about 10 guys being in the top 125 draft eligible guys, Alabama having 10 guys in that list. We talked about some of those guys. that was on that list. And then, with that said, what's your expectations of Alabama football? But then I went back and looked at units because individual guys, DC, are really a part of what everybody else does around them. Like you can have a really good wide receiver, but if there's no other dogs in the room and everybody can double team that guy and always put their best guy on that guy and then put another guy on top of him, then maybe that guy doesn't have the same season. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about where at least 4 units of Alabama was ranked in terms of PFF, O-line, D-line, safety, wide receiver. We'll also get DC's thoughts on the D-line and outside linebackers conversation we had yesterday with Kennington, get his thoughts there. So lots of news to get to. And we'll get to it right here on the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. Remember on this Tuesday morning that this is a day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice, be glad in it, take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Hey, if you guys have any questions, give us a call, 205-342-9904, or post your thoughts or your questions or your comments right there in the live stream chat, and we'll get in. Good morning, DC. How you doing, sir?
Oh, good morning, Martin. Doing great today. How about you?
Doing well. Well, I threw out a whole bunch of stuff. I don't even remember what all I threw out. So, but we can go. We got a lot of different places we could go to. Anything just kind of jumps off the charts at you before I drive the conversation a little bit?
Well, I think one of the things you asked me to think about was the bulletin board material and just the concepts on whether it's.
Did I lose DC?
Likely to make a difference, and I think it's very good. I like to talk about that.
You went silent for a second, DC. Repeat what you said.
No, I said I think the bulletin board material thing that you asked me to think on. I think that's a really good topic you can dig into because it talks about it deals with the culture and the more things we have available today for young people and that sort of thing. So I think it's
okay. I think we're having some challenges here. All right, DC, Chase, you guys still there?
Yes, we're still
I'm here, Martin. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now. It disconnected for a second, so just technology. We'll work through it. But yeah, DC, it is, and for those who may not know what I'm talking about, on Monday, Thomas Castellanos, had some words to say to the Alabama football team. If you don't know who that is, you would not be alone, but he was the Boston College quarterback who started at one point before being benched and all that stuff and fighting through some stuff. Had some nice words to say toward Alabama. He talked about this is his dream, DC. This is, what he dreamed of doing. And he just don't feel like Alabama can stop him because Alabama don't, quote, they don't have Nick Saban to save them. I just don't see them stopping me. So, bulletin board, and then he went deep, DC. He said, I'm not just playing for Florida State. I'm playing for coaches who are fathers, who have homes and families here. I'm trying to save jobs and win. Woo! That's deep right there, man. So the question I had, DC, oh my goodness. Going back to the Alabama State, let me get Chase's thoughts first. Chase, because everything is posted on social media, people are always saying stuff. Does this help any? I mean, do you remember the days when bulletin? You know, you don't. You're like 21. No, never mind. Does hearing stuff on social media embolden you, motivate you, challenge you any in terms of what you hear out there? Since there's so much noise.
Not as much. I His Castellanos, dude, it's so funny. You would have thought Boston College went to the playoffs the way he was talking and everything, but I believe he got benched in the last game or so. I don't know. If I'm Alabama, this is more than what I needed to go down to Tallahassee and kick some butt because you have a 5'9", 5'10" quarterback at most, challenging my defense and offense as a whole, saying that because Nick Saban's not there, it's a walk in the park type of stuff. And I don't know. I just feel like social media nowadays, it gives everybody just more bravado, more confidence, and then when it translates on the field, it's just they're crickets. So I'm really curious now what it's gonna look like when the first game comes. But I don't know. I just feel like people are getting out of hand. Everybody has a podcast. Everybody has a speaking just power in terms of that. But I hope he can back.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. When you look at it. When you look at it from when you look at it from
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sorry, I'm trying not to laugh because you had to point out 5'9", pushing, and hey, nothing wrong with being 5'9", 5'10". That's my height. That's me. I'm 5'9", 5'10". I'm a little bigger than he is, but this dude ended the season bench last year. And here's what as we go to break, this is what I want you thinking through, DC, and listen to the audience. Listen to this. 2 questions I have for you. Is there something in his current present from his past that made him feel this way? Was this just him talking? Because he referenced Nick Saban, who's not here. This is not Nick Saban's defense. So why would he even say that? So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about tie in that this Alabama defense. Maybe he needs to reassess who he's talking to. And I may give you. I don't think bulletin board material is as powerful as it used to be. But I will tell you why I think this could be helpful. I'll tell you all of that on the other side. You listen to Martin Houston Show, powered by Box Eye Care. That's Box Eye Care, boxeyecare.com.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Talenton Nissan Traffic Center. A very good morning to you. Getting off to a nice and smooth start on your Tuscaloosa freeways right now. Moving on I-20 or 2059, that is between 359 and Joe Malisham at posted speed. And McFarland is unbothered. That's moving quite nicely from Watermelon to 43. Lurleen Wallace, green for go from Bith to McFarland. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, Tammy Thomas.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International.
The Tide 100.9 WTBC 1230 Sports Radio studio is presented by Be Dry Alabama. Be Dry Waterproofing. Online at BeDryAlabama.com.
Just announced 0% for up to 60 months on all 2025 Nissan Rogue SUVs and the 2025 Nissan Pathfinders. Wow. Don't wait. Just shop now. Townsend Nissan today.
Every day, a child in poverty waits for a sponsor is another day of hopelessness. There are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year. End their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Just text the word radio to 83393.
Join the fun at Tuscaloosa's first annual Margarita Festival, hosted at the venue Saturday, July 12th. Do you think you know who makes the best margarita in Tuscaloosa? Well, 10 of the best will be competing, and you are the judge. Your ticket gets you 10 samples and the right to vote. Join over 2,500 margarita lovers at this family-friendly event. Visit bestmargs.org for tickets and more info. Be there July 12th at the venue for fun, food vendors, music, and margaritas.
Did you know that 90% of the lawyers you see or hear advertised aren't even in Alabama? Just think about that. I used this guy, Stephen Mesrano, twice because he did what no other lawyers could do. He won for me, and he can win for you. Mez wins.
Thanks, guys. I'm attorney Stephen Mesrano, and I win. Call me, 205-800-8000, and let me fight for you. And when you call, you'll actually talk to me. 205-800-8000. I've got this.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Hey, I'm Martin Houston, and I want to tell you about exciting news happening at Box Eye Care. They've moved to their new location, bringing you a brand new lab, stylish new frames, and a fresh look just for you. Enjoy their expanded frame inventory, competitive prices, and faster service, all with the same great level of service you've come to know and trust. Discover this full-service eye care at Box Eye Care's new location. With their in-house lab, they offer unbeatable value and one of the largest frame collections in town. Schedule your eye exam today and walk out with new glasses in less than an hour in most cases. Visit boxeyecare.com. That's boxeyecare.com, or call 205-342-0660. That's 205-342-0660. Visit them at 5003 Oscar Baxter Drive. That's Box Eye Care. Your vision, our priority.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Hot and humid today, partly to mostly sunny. A few isolated storms this afternoon or this evening. The high today 96, the low tonight 75. Tomorrow, morning sunshine. A few spots could see an afternoon storm. The high 95. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 75 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
All righty. Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Box Eye Care. It is a Tuesday morning, so that means we have DC Capstar Report in on the conversation with us. In that first quarter, we kind of set the stage for a lot of different topics, kind of a toss-up Tuesday. We settled in on Boston College quarterback talking smack, DC, and we asked the question, does bulletin board material have the same impact it used to have? Literally, the name of it was called bulletin board. Why? Players probably, DC, weren't reading the newspaper when that term kind of came up. They didn't know what was going on in the sports world other than their sports world for the most part. News was always, trailing several hours behind. By the time you heard it on the news, it was already old and stale. And it was only going to be a highlight. There wasn't going to be enough time for it to kind of dig in. So that's kind of where the term popped up. Was somebody would read it and then post it on the bulletin board, and the first time the players would read it would be when they would come in for practice or whatever. We had a bulletin board when we walked in the building, right to the left, boom, there was articles, and we would read them. And sometimes you just kind of laugh or whatever. Well, now it's back and forth all day, 24/7 on their phones. Their relationships with their former teammates in high school, etc. So it's a lot going on. But, DC, I do think this could be beneficial to Alabama. Not in the season, directly in the season, not directly in camp. But right now, DC, does this have the potential to help Alabama because those strength and conditioning coaches and Sting are looking for reason to keep these guys engaged? So maybe he did help Alabama out in terms of getting ready for fall camp and ready for Florida State. Your thoughts?
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Just the deeper thing is that, the name itself, bulletin board material, indicates something that it was different in days past before we had the internet and readily available. We have so much readily available news that's so fresh and new today. So it's different than it did back then. Back then, it affected the team in a different way when they saw it on the bulletin board for that day, for that practice, for that game, whenever the coaches decided to use it. In this day and age, as soon as he said it, say a third of the Alabama football team saw it immediately. They sent a text to their position group. Hey, you believe this dude said this about us? And so within a few moments, 90% of the Alabama football team already saw what he said. So I think the way that with technology today, it's used differently. So can it help? Yeah, just what I was going to go to exactly what you just said. It helps now in the present during the fourth quarter program where they're having a hard time in keeping the players engaged in that fourth quarter program, which is, most teams have such a program around the nation now, and they built it around what Alabama started with the fourth quarter program and how it affects and how you do the work in the summer. Putting that work in, pays dividends in the fall, but it's still hard. It's still hard to keep those players engaged in that. And this is a great opportunity to do that because now with all the multimedia that we have in the weight rooms and in the training rooms, you can put that sound clip, that sound bite before them, and it becomes like that gnat, that gnat, Martin, that you just get aggravated and frustrated with that you just can't stand anymore.
Yeah,
and I believe
it's sort of like the refueling of the bombers on their way to their mission. I mean, you may have fuel in there, but before you run out, and before somebody burns out, boom, you just interject something like this. So stupidity on his part. Several comments coming in. I'll read those in regards to that. RS Sports or Blind Squirrel Sports saying, I think FSU quarterback just might regret a few words. Never a good idea to give Bama extra incentive to hit. I love it. Ants with the sledgehammer. Of course, that's Ron Williams' quote of what Alabama plans to do against the teams and the likes of their opponents like Vanderbilt and Oklahoma, teams they should have beaten last year but didn't. And Florida State being one of those teams coming off a really rough season. Blind Squirrel Sport also said the Tide didn't need Saban to save them versus my Dogs last year. All they needed was Ryan Williams, and he lit us up. And just guess what? He's coming back. He's back. So Curtis Moore II said the Thomas kid from FSU is doubling down. He knows deep down the real deal when it comes to a blue blood like Alabama. Bama's been winning natties before Saban. Just saying. Coach Stallings called that DC whistling while walking through the cemetery. Then a couple other comments we had all on regarding that topic, so I'll finish those out. Jason Rutledge said, the last time we played Florida State, the first game of the year, I think we ended their quarterback's college and pro career. Just saying. Curtis Moore II, another comment. It also, and this is a question I want you to respond to, DC, it also could be the way Bama ended the season last year. And folks ain't high on Bama. It's been a while since Bama ended a season 9-4. Bama flying under the radar, according to most across the nation.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe part of it, but I don't think this is calculated. I think this is off the hip. I think as you read his statement, I think this is off the hip. And as he began to say it, he realized what he was saying sounded very selfish and writing a big check, and he wasn't sure he was going to be able to cash. And then he kind of went back and made it more of a deep deeper type thing in things. So I think this was not something calculated because of what Alabama was. I think it was more of himself.
Let me ask you this, though. Is it potentially unconsciously something that could be stirred up because of what's being said around campus? Most people forget this. The offensive coordinator for Florida State was the biggest nemesis of the Saban era. Gus Malzahn. Is it possible, DC, that because sometimes coaches don't move on either, right? So here's the Gus Malzahn connection. He had huge success when you relative to all the other coaches who played Saban. Gus Malzahn was very successful. You know, comparatively speaking, no one had a winning record, but he was successful. This kid played for Gus at UCF as a freshman. Is it possible that Gus thinks because Saban is still in Tuscaloosa, that Saban is still influencing this defense and that he's going to come in with what he's always done and think it's going to work against this defense? And this quarterback has that confidence because Gus is instilling that in him.
That's possible. I think that could be possible that that's something that he's heard from Gus Malzahn. But I think it's just as probable that the whole Florida State team has got still remembers that Alabama got into the playoffs ahead of them when they were undefeated, and they think it was because of Nick Saban's influence, and it's the idea that Nick Saban's not there to save you anymore, type kind of thing. So I mean, it could be a multitude of things, but it could just be a kid, talking too much as well.
Oh, it's definitely a kid talking too much. Without a doubt, I would say it's definitely a kid talking too much. I would say that they're trying to generate momentum, DC, from, hey, they kept us out of the playoffs a year ago, and they had a horrible season last year, and the majority of those players that played on that team that did something are gone, but they still going to try to buy into it. So like Kirby did a few years back when he convinced one of the most talented teams in the country that they were being disrespected, and they bought into it and went on to win back-to-back national titles. So if Kirby can convince a team that won a national title that the next year when people were still picking them to win it, that they were being disrespected, then I'm sure they can use that. But I do think the Gus Malzahn factors into maybe this kid's confidence, because the one coach who had great success against Alabama's defenses was Gus Malzahn. And so I can't wait to see the Gus Malzahn versus Kane Womack matchup. Closing thoughts before we get to the break and come back from halftime.
Yeah, I think exactly the matchup I want to see is Kane Womack's defense against Gus Malzahn's offense. I really think so. I think if you look around the nation right now, the odds makers are telling you that they don't have any faith in Florida State to make it. I mean, they possibly could be a 3-touchdown underdog by the time the game kicks off.
Wow. And I guess the question becomes, why is that? And we'll talk about that on the other side. We have two more topics I want to get to with DC Capstone Report. If you have something you'd like for me to talk with him or a question you'd like me to ask him, just call us on the Empowerment Strategy and Solutions hotline at 205-342-9904, or post your comment in chat, and once again, we'll work that in. Coming back on the other side, DC, I want to talk to you about this recruiting, the summer rain. Alabama having a big week, but it's not just guys that were on Alabama's board, guys that were on the Big Ten boards and committed, now flipping to the tide in short order. 3 of the last 4 commitments have been committed somewhere else. What's behind that strategy? And do you like the approach that Alabama's taking in their recruiting? We'll have those conversations and more with DC Capstone Report as we come back on the other side.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Telton Nissan Traffic Center. A very good morning to you. Getting off to a nice and smooth start on your Tuscaloosa freeways right now. Moving on I-20 or 2059. That is between 359 and Joe Malisham at posted speed. And McFarland is unbothered. That's moving quite nicely from Watermelon to 43. Lurleen Wallace, green for go from 5th to McFarland. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, Tammy Thomas.
Award-winning country sensation Lee Brice is back.
One of them girls that ain't trying to meet nobody. You're just here.
Live in concert, Saturday, July 5th, Pearl River Resort Silver Star Convention Center. Lee Brice.
That's a memory I don't miss with the girl I was the best.
On sale now at pearlriverresort.com. Don't miss Lee Brice live.
Got timberland in West Alabama or East Mississippi? North River Timber Company has you covered. Since 2011, Courtney White, a registered forester, along with his expert team, have been managing timberland and harvesting timber across 4 West Alabama counties. They offer comprehensive timber management plans, reforestation services, and appraisals. Courtney White says timber is like money in the bank. Don't let your investment go unrealized. Call North River Timber Company today. Email them at northrivertimberco@gmail.com or call 205-242-5127.
DQ presents How to Make Your Summer Take Flight. Just head into DQ for a new Superman Cake Batter Cookie Dough Blizzard Treat. Treat your inner hero to an epic mix of sugar cookie dough, sprinkles, and cake batter flavor. Blend it all with legendary DQ soft serve, and it's enough to tempt Superman himself. Fly into DQ for our new Superman Cake Batter Cookie Dough Blizzard Treat before it's gone. And don't miss Superman, only in theaters July 11th. DQ, happy tastes good. Only at participating locations.
Taco Casa, quality, taste, and value under the biggest cactus in town. They've been doing it the right way each and every day for 50 years and counting. If you're looking for a great option for lunch and or dinner, then you need to check out Taco Casa. Taco Casa, and while you're there, don't forget to get a big glass of that sweet tea. Visit them online at tacocasa.com. That's tacocasa.com. Quality, taste, and value on the biggest cactus in town. That's Taco Casa, tacocasa.com.
Prescription products require completion of an online medication consultation with an independent healthcare provider through the LifeMD platform and are only available if prescribed. Subscription required. Individual results may vary. Additional restrictions apply at lifemd.com. Read all warnings before using GLP-1s. Side effects may include a risk of thyroid T-cell tumors. Do not use GLP-1s if you or your family have a history of thyroid cancer.
Confused on where to start with weight loss medication? See the lowest prices available with or without insurance for Wegovy, Zepbound, and more at trylifemd.com. 95% of LifeMD patients said starting their weight loss journey was simple. Listen to Tara's story after losing 42 pounds.
You just take your shot. It doesn't feel like you're on a diet. What I wasn't expecting it to do was to shut off the food noise. I'd gone from 237 to 195. This was life-altering, and if I can do it, I feel like anybody can do it.
Get your free insurance benefits check in minutes right now at trylifemd.com. Nearly 96% of patients said they would recommend the LifeMD program to anyone who wants to lose weight. Get started right now at trylifemd.com. That's TRYLIFEMD.com.
Keep it locked into Tide 100.9 for more of the Martin Houston Show with Martin Houston and X's and O's Sports, Xavier Houston.
Welcome back in. Are you building better people, stronger teams, and a championship culture? Or if that's your desire, Empowerment Leadership and People Solutions will specialize in leadership development and talent evaluation that drives results from behavioral assessments to benchmarking reports. If you're an HR professional, we'll help you evaluate the talent before they're part of your roster, much like the recruiting approach at Alabama, where the summer rain is in full effect. Empowerment Strategy Solutions can help you do likewise for your team and your organization. We help you unlock the full potential of your team, ready to elevate your people and your people strategy. Ask us about our signature impact leadership model, where empowered leaders make lasting impact. Visit martinhouston.org to learn more. We are full-fledged all in this morning on recruiting. So we're getting ready to start that conversation. But before we do that, Pat wants to talk about FSU and Alabama football. Pat, you're in with Martin and DC.
Hey, good morning, DC. DC, what do you think that Florida State seems to have fallen from grace a little bit? Is it because Miami is on a tear? Oh, I can remember going over to Florida State when we should have probably beat them, and it beat us like a yard dog because of a big tight end.
Yeah, I think recruiting. Pat, you're really big on recruiting, and you know how important it is. But I think recruiting has fallen off at Florida State since Norvell has gotten there. And one of the things about Norvell is he's a great recruiter. But I think two things have happened. Well, three things. One is he came in with such a great blast and talked about changing the culture that was there. But I think the number one thing is they have a culture problem now, and the recruiting with the recruiting they did, it ended up not doing so well. And with the transfer portal and the NIL, a lot of people transferred out. The part about that recruiting is they got to recruit against some big teams like Florida, Miami, other teams in the area that go in there like Alabama and Georgia and Auburn. They all go in there in Florida and get some of the best talent. And Florida State has just not been able to keep up on the recruiting level, and that's what happens when you can have a big season like they did, and then didn't grow on it. So I think recruiting has really made them where they are today. And I think coaching, I think coaching is the problem as well.
Pat, and let me add to that, Pat, and just expounding on what DC said. Remember 2 years ago, everybody dogged Dabo Swinney for not getting a bunch of guys in the portal, and everybody praised Norvell, right? You remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. And in that season, Norvell had a great season and ended up short, right? We beat him into the playoffs. The next year was last year. The next year, which was last year, they had a whole new roster because what happened? They recruited all of these guys. All these guys came in. They had success. A lot of those key players went into the draft and graduated. So they had to find it again because the guys who were there that they brought those guys in front of didn't develop and grow any. So the next year, which was last year, they fell off the wagon. And when it started going bad, there was no one who knew the Florida State culture. There were no leaders on the team. And I said 2 years ago, I said it before that, but 2 years ago, I said, we're going to see which model plays best in this new age. So we've only had, this is going into really our second year where the portal DC is all out crazy. Florida State, Clemson. Well, a year later, Clemson makes the playoffs, right? Wins the ACC last year and makes the playoffs. Now Clemson is viewed as a top 3 to 5 team.
Yeah.
And where's Florida State? Now here's the question. If Ohio State falls off like crazy, coaches themselves are going to shut down the portal because they're going to realize I can either have a great team for 1 year, then fall off the wagon, or I can build a program like Nick Saban did, like Dabo has done. Every 2 to 3 years, Dabo may have a down season, but then he'll come right back because he's building culture. And that's what I love about what the board has done here. We have guys back who are bought into the system and they're building his culture. He doesn't have to also put in a new playbook every year and a new culture. He can just put players and plug them into the new culture. I mean, the existing culture. That's what Florida State's fighting. DC, your thoughts, and then I'll let you respond, Pat.
No, I agree with that. And also the other thing is evaluations. They're not doing very good evaluations. They missed on almost all of the transfer portal additions they had last year. They just didn't fit in. They didn't fit in because there was, and the reason they didn't fit in, there's no one there to show them how to fit in. And that's what you're saying.
DC fit in with what? You didn't even know who you were because you lost all of the guys the year before.
That's right. And so the ones they missed on this time, they missed on during the evaluations and trying to have them play in a system where they weren't comfortable. And I think that's what it showed last year. That's why they were so bad. Now, I don't see that improving because they didn't build a base through natural recruiting process.
Yeah. The difference between the NFL, because the NFL add new players every year, right? That's what they were trying to do. But the problem is the NFL has all of their veteran players back on contract. So when they're recruiting, they know where they want to go. They just want to add the additional piece part. What's the name was starting over from scratch again. So your thoughts real quick, Pat, before we get out of here.
Yeah, and back when Florida State was real good, Central Florida wasn't there scooping up some of the best of the rest. And but remember this, guys, y'all talking about recruiting and y'all are talking about retainment. Jalen Hale is healthy now, and Lord, look out for the rest of the SEC and the rest of the country because Hale is healthy.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think PFF. Thanks, Pat. I think PFF ranked this wide receiver class. I think number 2 behind Ohio State. I think I'll look it up in a second, DC. But talking about recruiting, Alabama, without a doubt, has a different strategy, DC. This week, they have in the last week or so, 7 to 10 days, they've gotten Jet, a quarterback from Iowa State. They got the safety from Rutgers, and they got the running back from Illinois. 3 guys who were committed somewhere else, Big Ten teams, and on 2 of them. And they're not necessarily the highest rated guys. But then on the other side, they have a couple guys, DC, that are 5 stars and 4 stars. So is this coaching staff taking an approach? We're going to get some guys that we immediately expect to play. And the younger guys, the lower rated guys may play, but we're going to evaluate talent that fits our scheme, that gives us a chance to develop them and not depend just on recruiting services and signing the highest rated guys.
Yeah, I think definitely that's what Alabama's doing, and I really like the way the class are putting together. And anytime you're flipping someone from a Big Ten school, I think all those Big Ten schools, Rutgers, Illinois, and Iowa State, all those big schools in the at least in the Power 5 or conferences, they're good players. But the question is, just because they don't have a 5-star by them, do you not recruit them? Do you not want them? Does Alabama and Georgia not want them? And I think what Alabama says, hey, we're going to worry about the 5 stars. We're going to get 5 stars, but we're also going to get people who fit into our system and we think can work. And I think it all revolves around Courtney Morgan. And the one word that he put up on his Twitter page when all this started happening was evaluations. And that's what you talked about in your segue in from evaluations. And that is the difference, the key that Alabama is building in their recruiting process, and they're doing a great job of it, I think.
Yeah, Javari Barnett was the running back. Does this decommitted from Illinois? We know we can go back and look at Bielema's approach to the running game. If anybody has done a good job of recruiting physical, downhill, but talented running backs, it's been Bielema. So this Javari Barnett out of Tampa, DC 4-star, not highly as ranked as some of the other guys, but he's 6. He's one of those guys. He's a 2-sport athlete. And in 2023, it doesn't say anything about his 2024 stats. Didn't have a lot of stats, right? But he played offense, defense, and he runs track. So he's the 11th ranked, not 11th ranked. We moved up to 11th ranked running back. Will Alabama, with this guy, he kind of fits that mold that they're looking for, and then they're going to try to lock in Xavier Crowell, and all of a sudden Alabama has a huge running back class.
Most definitely. And then you look at the safety they got out of Rutgers. I think it was, pitch the mold, what they're looking for, length, 6'3", 6'4". I mean, they're building exactly the kind of player that room they want. And I think that goes to what you said earlier, I guess, as we segue back to the last segment. Individual players, but what makes up the team is the room and the position groups. And they're building position groups with a model that they want to see in each player that they're recruiting, whether they're 5 stars or 3 stars. If they meet that model and think they can work within their system, then they're going after them.
Yeah, it looks like they're gonna have a bunch of 5 stars and some really good 3 stars and a couple 4 stars. Even with that, they're ranked 11th, even though they have intentionally taken some lower rated guys. And if we have the same result we had last year with Keelan Russell, DC, we'll find out that the evaluation was really, really on for this coaching staff. So, but
you have to remember who Courtney Morgan played with at Michigan, right?
What?
Who Courtney Morgan was at Michigan? Tom Brady, right? So, I mean, that's where you're talking about evaluations and knowing somebody may not be a 5-star when you recruit them, but they may be a 5-star talent by the time they leave your organization.
Yeah, absolutely. And DC, and I'll get you to answer this on the other side. The question is this staff even more committed and have a greater belief in their ability not just to evaluate? The evaluation is good, but when you take lower-rated guys, you're also depending on one key word, and that is development. Is this staff sold on their ability to develop? And we'll talk about that, as well as get your thoughts on Nate Oates and his big recruit as well.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Tuesday edition of The Game, we'll talk to Mike Detillier, WWL, the big 870. We'll also feature Pete Nakos from On 3. We'll talk to the world of college football recruiting as Alabama picking up steam on the recruiting trail. We'll talk about it right here starting at 2 p.m. on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest running sports program in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. Tide 100.9 Traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, moving at posted speed for your Tuscaloosa freeways and side streets. Only brief delays at the intersections of Skyland and McFarland. And you've also got that at Lurleen Wallace and McFarland. That's just pretty much the norm. We're moving smooth on 2059. Looks good from 359 to Joe Malisham. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, I'm Tammy Thomas.
This report is sponsored by the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation.
Just announced 0% for up to 60 months on all 2025 Nissan Rogue SUVs and the 2025 Nissan Pathfinders. Wow. Don't wait. Just shop now. Townsend Nissan today.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
Hey, this is Wyatt Fulton from Tide 100.9. Since moving to Tuscaloosa in 2022, I've been embraced by the community, and we want to help do the same for you and your business. I'm passionate about the Tide listeners, and I know that they will support advertisers whose products and services we endorse. At Town Square Media Tuscaloosa, we can help create customized radio and digital marketing plans to help grow your business. Hit me up at wyatt.fulton@townsquaremedia.com, and I can tell you more, and let's help your business score big.
Houston Hydrostein. That's Houston Hydrostein. Steam, quality work you can stand on. Whether you're looking for carpet and upholstery cleaning, oriental rug cleaning, residential or commercial water damage, and a whole lot more, you need to call Houston Hydro Steam at 205-553-9460, 553-9460, or visit them online at HoustonHydroSteam.com. And once again, Houston Hydro Steam is quality work you can stand on.
The Alabama Securities Commission protects you from financial fraud. Anyone asking you for investment money must be licensed. You're careful with your money. Fraudsters aren't. Before you invest, call our hotline at 1-800-222-1253 to verify the licensing of the person making an offer and the product. Don't lose your hard-earned money. Learn to protect yourself at asc.alabama.gov. Paid for by the Investor Protection Trust and brought to you by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. We have DC Capstone Report. And it's now time for the Harvest Church 2-minute warning. Harvest Church, we love God, love people. And I want to tell you, coming soon, Triple F, Football, Faith, and Fatherhood, a gathering for strong men. We are looking to reestablish the role of men in our society on a biblical foundation. If you're interested in having Triple F come speak on a Friday night, Saturday morning workshop, we would love to partner with you and bring that to your city, your town, your home. So that's Triple F. You can shoot me an email, Martin at Martin Houston, if you're interested. DC, as we wrap up this edition of the program, we'll start off where we left off with the football program. This coaching staff seems to have a very intentional model. They're not just trying to sign 5 stars and high 4 stars. They're signing guys who fit. And I love that because this coaching staff has a history all the way back from Sioux Falls to Fresno to Washington. And plus, don't forget, this offensive staff was together at Indiana as well, not as a head coach, but as the coordinators. And they developed great players from 3-star guys and 4-star guys. Does this give Alabama a huge advantage? And is this coaching staff sold on this ability to develop talent in the right way?
Yeah, I think the word development, hand in hand with the word evaluation, is how you develop, how you build a team. And I think this coaching staff is really upon that. And the proof is in the pudding, as they say. The evidence you point to is how many players entered the portal from Alabama's football team after the spring ball this year. Not a single one, right?
Yeah, and DC, you know what? You know what? You know who realized that they're getting better even if they're not playing?
Yeah.
The players, right?
The players, the players. That's why they stayed. Even if they're not playing, even if they don't have the starting role nailed down, they realize they're improving.
Yes, right.
Why would you say somewhere if you were backing up? And they stayed because, hey, we got something here. There's something building here. And I think that is the evidence that tells you that this team is not only evaluating, but they are developing talent as well. And that's going to go a long way to help this Alabama coaching staff. Going to go a long way to help this Alabama football team meet its potential. When you can evaluate and develop, you're helping your players put them in the best positions to succeed, and that makes the whole team better.
All right, DC, switching to basketball. We lost Big O last year to the draft. And I'm not even going to attempt to say this guy's name. Chase, you can if you want. But he's Big O 2.0. Collins, Big O, a 4-star center who was previously 2020 in the 2026 class, has reclassified, number 2 player out of Massachusetts, according to 247 Sports, 92 overall prospect. Has reclassified to Alabama, 6'10", thick-bodied guy, joining this Alabama team, 270 DC. He is definitely a big boy, even though he's a young young guy. Could he be a Ryan Williams for Alabama basketball?
Yeah, I think it's great to see when you see the word reclassify. I mean, he is young, and that means he's 6'10" and young. He's still growing. So this kid could grow into a 7-foot, 270-pound center after getting to Alabama, and so this is a big thing for Alabama in basketball. We needed that big man. We needed that extra player, and this is great to see them go out and get a center that's one of the top centers in the nation in 2026 class, reclassified the 2025 class, come in with this freshman class and has the opportunity to contribute as a young freshman. Might be the Ryan Williams of Alabama basketball if he comes in and develops the way we think he can. Really going to show up this front court for Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, NATO's it ceases to amaze me what he does on recruiting, and it's like surprises DC that he's pulled off this offseason. Of course, they did just approve Right Sale's return. We felt like they would, but getting a guy back from the draft that we thought were for sure gone, and then getting a freshman, I think those are two moves that nobody saw coming.
Yeah, and having the place for him, forward thinking for preparation to have a scholarship for these players. If one comes back that you don't think is coming back, and you can get one to reclassify, that's a really good coach and really good head there in developing this team for this year.
All right, closing thoughts, DC.
Well, I think we talked about a lot today, but one thing I'll go out is that thing you talked about earlier. Probably you can talk about later on your show in the week, but Alabama's not only building individual players and developing those players, they're developing a team. And I think a team that's going to be able to compete at the highest level on the field this year, be back where we need to be. I think it's going to be because of the great development of the position groups that we've got. And I think we've got some really good position groups on this football team.
Does this team compete? I'm not asking you to predict will they win, but do they compete for a national title?
Most definitely. I think this team here is in the conversation all year long for the national title. All
right. Tell them where they can find you, DC, as you wrap it up.
You can find me at DCCapstoneReport.com, DC Capstone Report Facebook page. You can follow me on Twitter at DavidCott50. And you can check out Lance's other sites, RollPiedBama.com and FreelancePictures.com for some great Alabama content.
All right. Remember this. Trust in the Lord always. Lean not in your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Roll Tide out to everybody. Thanks, Chase, for pressing all the right buttons. I'm Martin Houston. That's DC Capstone Report. We'll be back tomorrow with more of the same great content. Thanks for being part of the show, guys. Roll Tide.
It's up to you. What's your pleasure?
Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.